Wow. Good morning, everyone online, and good morning, Mark Hortz and Amato. So, the snow has scared everyone, I guess. Nah, it's all good. Probably people took advantage of the 70-degree weather, and then it got so cold they got sick. Oh, no, that was me. I went home on Friday, and I was just like, you get a double dose of everything, yeah. Maybe we swapped infectious diseases. It won't go away. It's like stuck right here. I went and got x-rayed and swabbed and probed and poked, and they're like, you got a virus. Cool. No pneumonia. They took my little x-rays, I stood in front of the thing. No pneumonia, no this, no that. You want us to check for, influenza A through Z and COVID? I'm like, no. What are you going to do for that? Well, nothing. There's nothing we can do. It's too late for the placoplid, whatever it's called, and then influenza, they just send you home. So I'm like, no, the fever's been gone. This is residual. I just want to make sure I'm not getting infections at this point. They're like, oh, so is that a no? I'm ready to go home now. But I did sleep an entire day. I went home and I just said, all right, guys, I'm staying home. I woke up at 5 p.m. the next day. So apparently my body just needed something, I don't know. So maybe I'm just a big pansy too. All right, so today we're going to be... What? Wow, she's spicy today. That's burning my tongue a little bit. No, that's every day. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a little. So Luke 13:31. Luke 13:31. Our gospel reading for today is what we'll be focusing on and talking about. It's very interesting. Luke 13:31. I'm preaching on the epistle today, but Luke is, well, he says some things that is just, you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, yeah, that's true. But you really don't think about it until you read it. That's why we have the lectionary, so we make sure we read these things every year. So Luke 13:31, and I'll read it. So kind of waiting for our rack and the sound stuff to be replaced, but I got feedback. People can't hear if it's on the mic or the lectern well, so I'll just repeat things the best I can for everyone online and read. So lament over Jerusalem. So here we go. At that very hour, am I on the right one? Luke 13. Yeah. At the very hour, some Pharisees came and said to him, get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you. Interesting that they would care. Or maybe it's more of a, get out of here because you're not supposed to be here. I don't know. That's interesting, right? And he said to them, go and tell that fox. That's pretty, for Jesus to say that, it's interesting, right? Go tell that sly man, that creeper, it's just, go tell that, I don't know, sleazebag? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it's not like if you called, any president in our history a name, whatever. But this is not the same apple to apple here. This is the king. And back then, if you talked bad of the king, usually you could be killed. medieval times was the same. You talk bad by the king, you come before his court. And you became the entertainment for the evening sometimes. So Jesus said, go tell that fox, behold, I cast out demons, perform cures today and tomorrow. So he's like, and I'm going to do this tomorrow too. And the third day, I finish my course. So he's telling him, you know what, good, just go tell him, listen, I'm going to be here casting out demons, curing things today, tomorrow, and the third day. No, then I'll be gone. That's courageous, right? Yeah. Nevertheless, I must go on my way today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet should perish away from Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you would not. Behold, your house is forsaken. And I tell you, you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So, yes.
What is it referring to?
And you're fine. Well, that's just what I was going to discuss this morning. Yeah, we're same bat channel. So the question was asked for those of you online, what the heck is verse 34 all about? So Jesus, right after he says, you know what? Nevertheless, I'll go. All right. Lord forbid a prophet gets killed, in Jerusalem. And then he goes, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. He laments over Jerusalem here, and that's why it's labeled the way it is. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets, stones those who are sent to it. So he is accusing Jerusalem of murdering those who have been sent to save it. Past. And in the current situation, the one who has actually come to save them, they want to kill him. But also all the prophets who have prophesied about Jesus up to this point, and not all, but many of the judges or the prophets were their lives were attempted to be taken, are threatened. So that's actually our Old Testament reading. So, yeah. So it's almost like, people did look at that and, yeah. So Jeremiah 26. Jeremiah, excuse me. So there, remember the prophets, the judges, people of God, the priests. God would raise up people whenever, he wanted, but he would warn them of God's wrath, remind them of God's ways, and tell them to return to him. And, many people, I say this a lot, but many people say just as bad, and in many ways, just more easily able to be worse. But they threatened Jeremiah. So, Jeremiah 26:8, the priests and the prophets and all the peoples heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of the Lord. And what was he speaking? Well, right before this, he read, or he declared in first person for God, for Yahweh, the wrath that was going to come to them. Because after each statement, he says, declares the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, Behold, disaster is going forth from nation to nation. So after hearing all that, Jeremiah is then threatened by the people of the priesthood. Remind you of anything? When Jesus puts the chief priests and the Pharisees in their place, they also threaten his life. And in fact, they seek to take it. So when Jeremiah had finished speaking all that the Lord had commanded him to speak to all the people, then the priests and the prophets and all the people laid hold of him, saying, "You shall die." So, no one went to stop them. They're watching it happen. It's kind of like, and the Israelites were like, crucify him, crucify him. And then you see almost a carbon copy situation here. He comes in, warns them of God's wrath, tells them that they are doing evil. Kill them. And they actually take hold of him. They're going to do it. And why have you prophesied in the name of the Lord, saying, this house shall be like Shiloh, and this city shall be desolate, without inhabitant? And all the people gathered around Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. They were going to kill him in the temple, man. They were going to kill him. And man, they were gathering around him. Well, what were they going to use? The altar? You know, like, I mean, if I ever speak, you know, evil in this house, you know, I have to answer to God. But it's like, it's as if I had been speaking false things, all of a sudden you guys take me and put me down and, all right, get the axe. Where's that been the whole time? In the piano. You know, and just chop my head off, you know. Take that, false prophet. But Jeremiah, obviously we know, was the truth sent by Yahweh, and they didn't want to hear it. They wanted nothing to do with the truth, and they wanted to keep doing what they were doing. So we see in Jeremiah here, and for our Old Testament reading, it's like, this is just one example. You know, David, he was sought after for years, finally came back. That's why we have the beautiful Psalms that we do, because he wrote about it in song form. But, man, so you read this in the New Testament, and Jesus is like, meh. He's going to kill you. Yeah. Whatever. Tell that fox that I'm right here, you know. Like, he's not. What are you trying to tell me? Something new? You know, Jesus' reaction is very not surprised. And then he laments. Man, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. But then we see God's heart in this. So we get to see how God feels about it, you know. We know how the Israelites, we know how all these other people felt. They wanted nothing to do. They wanted their cushy-wushy lives in sin. But then you're like, well, what's God thinking over here? And he simply says, you know, listen, how often I would have rather gathered your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you would not. Instead of coming under the wings of the Lord Almighty and seeking shelter where he willingly gave it and was readily available throughout all history to give them protection and love them, instead they ran away under trees and got electrified, or, you know, like they ran for their own protection. They ran to their own comforts and away from God, and he points that out. Listen, you're missing the point. So, what's your take on that? What do you guys think of that? Shooting straight to the point, Mr. Tamamato. Wake up and smell the salvation? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. One way or another. Whether by exile or... So in Jeremiah, Tim pointed out, reading a little farther, and, the bigger picture context there, I appreciate that. They had a false prophet in the temple saying that all's well, we're good with God, and Jeremiah comes into town and says, no, you're not. You are a false prophet. You're going to die. Y'all are in trouble. You all need to stop and cease and desist. It was kind of like a cease and desist order, right? From Yahweh himself, and they would rather kill the messenger. Jesus also says many parables concerning that. The master sent his servant, or his messengers, right, to the vineyard, and they killed them, and then he sent more people, and they killed them, and then he sent his son, thinking surely they'll respect him, and then they're like, "Ooh, it's his son. Let's kill him, because surely he'll, come back, or we can take it from him." Now, basically, the inheritance is gone. We can take the vineyard. Didn't work out so well. So, because when the master returned, he had revenge. So, it's frustrating, I guess, as we read this, because throughout history, humanity has always pushed against God, rebelled against God. And it's almost like we want to test how far we can go. It's like, why do we do this to ourselves? So... No respect is... Hmm. 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 Yeah, there's no reciprocal respect, love in this relationship with God, and yet God stays in it. If we want to compare it to marriage, which God does, we are the bride and He is the bridegroom. What kind of marriage, looking at history of humankind, what kind of marriage would describe that? If we are, as humanity, the bride and God's the bridegroom. What are some words that would describe the marriage? Some would say, that's a sucky marriage. Some would say, oh, that's a broken marriage, you know. But what are some other things that would come to mind? Outside looking in, someone walks up to the bridegroom, you know, God, and is like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but your bride, you know, what would... There it is. Your bride commits adultery. Your wife's cheating on you. Your bride's cheating on you, God. And that's why Yahweh, you know, in the Old Testament, he has called his people whores. Why are you whoring around with these idols who can do nothing? You know what I'm saying? Like, and so adultery, that'd be part of the marriage explanation. You know, if we were to put a title to it, I would say abusive. Not that, like, the father, it's good to hold a wife accountable and vice versa, right? But in this case, humanity, like, I don't even know a word for it. It's that convoluted. What do you call it when the bride just doesn't give a hoot and cares nothing of the husband and does what they want? And yet, the husband, well, in this case, waits hundreds of years before doing something. I don't know, is there a word for that? But that's where we start drawing the difference, right? Because the different paths, they definitely want different things in the relationship. I hear that all the time. Well, she wanted something else in life. You couldn't put this together before you said I do, you know.
However, even in this case, the bride is always going to be the bride.
Bride, always the bride.
And the bridegroom is always going to be the bridegroom.
Yeah.
Okay? And regardless of what the bride does, the bridegroom is going to be faithful in his,
Yeah.
because that's his nature.
The bridegroom will always be faithful. The bride not. In this situation. Yeah. Now, some people will go, okay, well, then we go the next step. Is it, abusive relationship? Well, I would say spiritually and emotionally, yeah, the bride is, continually cheating and yelling and cursing at the husband and running away and doing what she wants. That's us to God. But God does discipline his people that he considers a bride. Now, that's where the metaphor would have to stop, because God doesn't abuse the bride in that he beats her or something. That would be a out of context kind of thing. Some people have probably gone there with that. That's wrong. But because then it's speaking more of a father will always discipline his children, because that's another metaphor that God uses to describe his relationship with his people. It's like a father to his children, or his son, often spoken of because he's the head of the house. Or, I'm the bridegroom and you're the bride. He uses many metaphors, and I think to describe different avenues in a relationship. When you do something stupid, you should be told you're doing something stupid and you need discipline. That's more of a father to a son. when you cheat on me, when you purposely do things to hurt me, I'm still going to love you and be committed to you. That's more of a marriage thing. And so he uses these human, very relatable situations that are given to us, a family unit and a marriage, to describe him with us. Sad thing is one day it will be perfected again. There won't be any more father, daddy, son issues or marital problems between us and God. But it'll be perfected. But any other things on that? Behold, your house is forsaken. I tell you, you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. What's he mean there? What you think? Behold, your house is forsaken. You will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. You need a what? Like come around full circle in your understanding? Mm. You need to wake up. I think it's a exhortation to, God, Jesus says, for those who would hear, let them hear. For those who would see, let them see. Sadly, many are deaf and blind, spiritually speaking, right? And so it's that call to, hey, you're forsaken. What you're doing is despicable. And I'll tell you, you won't see me until you say, blessed is he who comes. So when do they say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord then? So, Palm Sunday is when they were yelling a lot of Hosanna, meaning save me. He was talking to the Pharisees. Yep. And this is, the lament over Jerusalem is more than just the chief priests. It's all the people, So it's almost a verdict. What is happening in my temple, in my house, with you guys, is now a disease in my people now. What you've done, what you've shown me to be is now what they think of me. And so now they're going to want to kill me. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the prophets and the people sent to you. You want to kill them. It matches exactly what happens in the Old Testament. In other words, gee whiz, people, nothing's new with you. I'm finally here, and you want to kill me. Well, sorry to say, not yet. The time has not come. But I will say, you won't see me again until you say, too, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So I think he's bringing up the future of him going to Jerusalem. For some, it would be truth on their lips. Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. For some, it was just maybe an act. For some, it could have been in mockery. Oh, blessed is the one who comes in his name, But he foretells the future, and it does come true, because they use those words. They left out the, save me, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. It just says, not the Hosanna, but so why would he end his lament over that? Because right after this, he goes right out and heals. Basically back to work. And Jesus goes back to work, you know. Why stick on the negative? I've been saying this since Genesis, you idiots, and you still don't get it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so he gives them, though, an image of how God views them instead of just letting them say how they feel about him, you know, or how the people are thinking, you know, you know, go tell Herod this. He makes the beautiful image of, I've always been there, like a hen to the chicks, ready to keep you dry in that storm, keep you safe when you're scared. You know, I think we've all seen that aww moment when all traffic comes to a stop for the crossing. Now if it's a goose, I'm just saying, I look left, I look right, and I'm like, you know the things that come in your mind, you're just like, oh man, I'm a sinner. I'm just like, swipe. I can't use that thought. Bad thought. I'm like, I wonder how fast I could hit that and not get in trouble. It happened at the intersection coming to work one morning, and I saw him coming, so I stopped. Turning lane was stopped. The guy screeches to a stop next to me, and we're all like, let it pass. It wasn't even a goosing. It wasn't even a goose crossing. I was like, hey. I wanted to roll down my window and be like, hey, $10 to the one who hits it first. You know, it's so bad. It's what, like, I hate geese, all right? I don't know why people like, oh, trust me, it won't if you hit it just right. Anyways, you know, it just, man, we had such a goose problem in Indiana in our church. It would, every stinking morning, they would freshly poop on our sidewalks. And it's like, come on. Kids would drag it in, get rubbed into the carpet and the narthex. It was great. But, you know, it just, that proves that we're all sinners, right? You know, it's like, John Chris does a good job, the Christian comedian, you know, he's right. Like, things just pop in your mind, you're like, oh, that's not good. That's funny, but oh, no, that's not good. So it's like a cell phone, you swipe. It's like TikTok. Your thoughts are like TikTok sometimes. You just got to keep going up. Lord have mercy on us. But away from geese, when you see a hen, right, with her chicks. Now, I'm sorry, that is pretty darn cute. Those little suckers, you know, the mamas, you know, she really is like puffed up and brooded, and she's protecting her hens, and, you know, she'll cross the street, and if you even like move. But geese, they're cocky, man. Like, seriously, they cock their necks. They're like, oh, gotta stretch. Oh, I'm gonna go 2 more steps. You want to try it? Yes, I do. Sorry. Swipe. We're done. Okay, back to the hen. So we understand that image, and what's supposed to happen is the little chickies follow the hen, like they do in nature. What happens to the little chickie when they wander off and are no longer protected by the hen? They die. You ever seen a dive bomb hawk? Mamma mia. Your kid saw it the other day? Oh. There was a hawk circling. Oh no. Dive bombed. Snap. Yeah, it, and it's funny because he compares, him to the hen, therefore we're the chicks, and it's like that little mini metaphor says a lot. God desires us to follow, and he provides shelter. It's us, the creation that defies the creator, who loves his creation so much he has a plan to die. My first video for the midweek Lenten, kind of went into Genesis and all of that, describing and going into that one in more depth. But like, oh my word, what happens to the little chick when it wanders off and is not protected by the big hen? Dude, it's lunch. It's in danger. It is prey. And the evil one, of course, in this metaphoric story would be, I guess, the hawk. But man, God doesn't want that for us. Ooh, fox. Well, he's like a fox because he's leading his people astray. So are the chief priests. If he's a fox, what's that makes a chief priest? Maybe rabid? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But it is sad, right? And he rightly makes that perfect imagery of how he wants it to be. But behold, you guys are forsaken because you have forsaken me, not the other way around. I don't want you to be forsaken, but you reject me. Just like in the days of old. I've been there. That was me talking through the prophets, through the judges, through the kings. That was me. But yet you want to kill me. So you know what? You'll see me again, but you'll hear this. Blessed is he who comes. Huh. It's kind of putting the ball in their court, right? Listen, here. If you can't see it, you all know your Torah, all right? You know how to cook, you know the ingredients. Either bake the brownies or get out of the kitchen, right? Just wake up. Maybe it's also a be ready for me when I come. Because you're going to say, everyone's going to say, as I walk into Jerusalem, and then yet you're going to kill me. Like as he says this, you're going to say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And then less than a day later, right? Crucify, crucify, crucify. What changed? I don't know. Did anything change? Some people's hearts did. Many people's hearts did. But the majority of them still just did not get it. And they rejected the one who was actually sent. And, yeah, somewhat like Zacchaeus, right? A select few asked some deeper questions, and we found out later, like in the book of Acts, Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they basically created like a mafia-minded people where it's like, we've created this way, and if you go against it, you're dead. The chief priesthood became a secret society, and they needed to make sure they kept people in line so they could stay rich and in power and respected, when it was supposed to be, no, your servants. And Jesus made it very clear. Why? How did that change? I'm God, and I came to serve. That's why Maundy Thursday is so beautiful. He reminds them, don't forget this night, because on this night, your God washed your stinky, nasty feet. But he showed them the most high honor of a rabbi, a master, God, who would put himself at the lowliest place and then give himself up. So all of this, of course, leading to the cross, because we're in the Lenten season, but we know that they will kill Jesus as they had killed many. And then, you think into the future, how many people were stoned and martyred since the beginning of the early church until now. And there's still martyrs. And there's martyrs of people that we will never know their names. But they died for the gospel nonetheless. And therefore their name is in the book of life. It really makes it come full circle there, doesn't it? So, any more questions before we finish with a prayer? And I'm not saying you should hit geese, but if your brakes are a little weak, don't get them checked. No, I'm just kidding. Remove the feathers from the grill. No, I'm just kidding. No, don't hit them. That would be bad. But, man, it's so funny how we... Well, swipes. Yeah. They're flying rabbits, okay? We'll never go extinct. They're flying rats, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do this year about. They ate a bush. I planted a stinking bush, y'all. It was a flamingo bush. It was beautiful, had these pink leaves or whatever, but it was the wood. They ate, like, what kind of rabbits are these things? Yeah, it's called shotgun steel lead. Stink spray, huh? It's horrible. Well, they systematically chewed through and just left this little pathetic. So I trimmed it all down, and I'm hoping it'll bud out and grow this spring. But if it doesn't, we're going to war, AA round. All right. Mothballs? People walk by and go, who lives there? What are they doing in the kitchen? Okay, well, let's pray. Oh, man. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. Thank you for reminding us that through the ages, we have, as your people, betrayed you. In fact, so many times there's been people to try have murdered your prophets, your judges, your people that you sent on our behalf, because you are like that hen who wants to protect its little ones. But we are the ones that are rebellious and run away. Give us strength, Father, to run to you. This Lenten season, give us strength to reflect upon our hearts and to run to you, to follow you in your story so that we may experience it with you. And it will hurt. It should. So we can be reminded of what kind of God you are. One that would be so loving and gracious and merciful that you would do all these things so that we could live with you forever. That was always your purpose. That was always your design from Genesis. Just to have a people to live with and to be with. And we run away from you, and yet you seek us. Thank you for that. Give us strength to realize that kind of love and also to show it to others. In your name, amen. All right. And Kirkin said, 22 gauge. And she says, mothballs don't work. Thank you, Kirkin. What? Would a chainsaw work, Kirkin?